Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Monday.
Welcome to another day with my bugle.
To another Nudelberg Daily Huddle where we get to kick the week off the right way, regardless of what the weather is outside.
So it was a little bit of anti-M this morning, man. It was like,
It got nasty. Got some serious winds, some serious rain, but nothing would stop us from being here at the Nudelberg Daily Huddle.
Rain or shine, we're doing this thing. Just so much going on. There's football, there's golf, there's great topics we're going to talk about. Let's start with Friday. We all got together and we did what a lot of businesses don't do. We spent time thinking.
That's right.
And there's the president at the helm. We all agreed that is the weirdest whiteboard ever. Vertical whiteboard.
The narrowness of it really makes it hard to do what you need to do to get done.
Yeah,
but we
a whiteboard is supposed to be free roaming,
Right.
It makes it hard to expand on a topic.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was crazy. But I will tell you, of all the time we've been working together, that was the best meeting we've had because everybody.
It was very concise.
Yes.
It was very direct. It was, we cleaned up a lot of loose ends. We got focused on the priorities and the things that we needed to work on. And then we went deeper on it, which I think that's the important thing to do is, once you've decided what that target focus is go get the nitty gritty details because the devil is in the details. And that's what we did. So it's great stuff. And then the action items that come out of that are always the best parts.
Well said. So we got a couple of days left in the month. If you're working in the world of monthly quotas, get your ass in gear. Anything can happen any day. So we left that, got into a great weekend. I saw some friends, ate some great food, but the highlight of my year happened when I got a call from Mark and said, how about doing brunch with us? Jules wants to see you. So there we go, baby.
Got to get together right after church at what has become my favorite place to eat breakfast, which is Java and Jam. Highly recommend the Bloody Mary and highly recommend the screwdriver. I'm not a screwdriver drinker, but they have fresh squeezed orange juice that with a little Tito's was nice yesterday.
I thought that was
screwdrivers are dangerous. Screwdrivers.
Anything's dangerous for you, Shay.
For those that you could probably guess, I mean, Shay is not from the drinkers. So when he gets out and gets around some alcohol, the stories are.
Yeah, but I'm fun. I'm fun though.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Keep telling yourself that. So Shay, why don't you give us the update on YouTube? Because if LinkedIn continues to be finicky, which it does, tell us where we are on YouTube.
Yeah. So as you know, technology, if it was perfect, we'd be living in an amazing world, but it's not, especially on the LinkedIn side when they talk to StreamYard. So what I did, I created a Nudelberg Daily Huddle page that's going to be just dedicated to that outside of Steve's personal YouTube that many of you have subscribed to. So we have a new page that if you go, you subscribe. So everybody that watches this live or watches the playback, subscribe there. You'll get the alert to your email. And then you can watch us on YouTube in case anything happens.
So that is a request that I have of everybody who tunes in at any point is that you head over to the YouTube channel, you hit subscribe, you hit like, and that way, whenever we have problems going live through LinkedIn, everybody knows exactly where to go, and we build the community there as well.
Awesome. Let's get to some wake-up music. Today's topic, which is already on fire. You posted about it. We talked about it yesterday. Already on fire this morning. Quiet quitting among all of the other buzzwords that are out there. We'll get into some deep conversation, but you can't do it until you wake up.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more about the thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
Watching that again, to your point,
Great. Well done, Shay. Well done, Shay.
Smiles in that, man. So, and then you get, Greg, who comes and says, lots of sunshine because of what we do. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Way to kick the week off. So before we get into the quiet quitting conversation, we always like to recognize people in the huddle, people that are part of our tribe that are doing great things. And nothing greater than our man, Andy Hill, who, look at that stud. He is part of the Inc. 5000, his company. You want to tell the story? Because you'd probably tell it better than
Yeah, so he founded a company. The story is really great. They take a trip as friends to I think it was to Cuba. And they get in a conversation there about software developing and engineering. And that trip spawned the birth of his company, Siono, which is part of the Inc. 5000, rapidly growing companies. They've done incredible things for lots of different companies down here in South Florida. But that's not the only thing that's happening for him today. Not only is he on the cover of Inc., he's also in the hospital right now with Lena as they are getting ready to have their baby. So lots of prayers, lots of good energy going for Andy. And just to keep it friendly with him, like if you open up the page, I swear he looks like Morpheus on the inside of the article. And he sent it to me and I was like, the red pill or the blue pill? It was really funny because I love him to death and it's really great, but super proud of him. So proud of the work he's done to build that company. And you want to talk about leadership, we're going to talk about quiet quitting today and what that really means. He's done an unbelievable job of cultivating a work from anywhere environment with people bought into an organization that's growing very rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special human being. He's super bright. The way he came up with the name of the company is spectacular. He was in Cuba and they were like, you want another beer? See or no?
Right.
And so he came up with a name, great concept, great. But a point before we jump through this is that his success does not take anything away from the rest of us. In a world of abundance, fan that fire, man. Let him do more. The more he does, God bless him. We all have our own roadmap. So I always like pointing out that when you push for other people's success, it actually boomerangs back at you. So let's get into this topic, quiet quitting. Shay, did you happen to put the definition there? Look at this. This is so incredible.
Oh, I love it.
Is a term and a trend that emerged in mid-2022 among a lot of other buzzwords, came from TikTok, which is certainly a verifiable source. It's the philosophy of quiet quitting is not abruptly leaving a job, but doing just enough to keep the job, no more, no less. The main objective is to avoid burnout. This one tingles my toes a lot.
So this is and I love the way Joe Mullings posted about it this morning, whether it's work from anywhere, whether it's quiet quitting. These are headline grabbers, right? They use these terms.
Work-life balance, great resignation, essential workers. I mean, there's so many buzzwords in this shit. It's crazy.
So it's to create this virality inside of you that says, I either hate this or love this. Bingo. But the idea or the negative connotation is that quiet quitting is something where you're showing up to do the bare minimum. And I love that Jen challenged me on my post about this morning, because these are two very different things. If
Correct.
you're doing exactly what's required of you, the way it's supposed to be done, time in and time out consistently, there's nothing wrong with that. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it, how it's supposed to be done. That's not quiet quitting to me. Quiet quitting to me is figuring out what the bare minimum is and doing just that. I'm not necessarily proud of this, but I would consider what I did in college quiet quitting. I would look at the syllabus in the beginning of the semester. They would tell me exactly how many points were in the class. I would reach the threshold of passing the class and be like, my job is done here. I got what I
100%.
needed for the grade. I can now go spend all of my time at football. Thank you. I'll take the next one. And that didn't serve me well, but my passion was not aligned with the school. My passion was not aligned with class. My passion was aligned with work, where I was willing to do anything and everything to go above and beyond. So I think it's important that we define the term correctly before we dive into who's responsible for it.
Shay, did you have something to say?
I was just saying, I was seconding that emotion.
Okay, very nice. So here's a story, and this is why this has me all wrapped up in knots. Way back when, company's sailing along, it's great. I get introduced to a kid named Zach Stein. Zach Stein's MBA. He's got all this great accolades. I said, dude, I don't have room for you. I said, but if you jump in the boat and you add value, figure it out, FIO, add value, I'll find a spot for you. That's the mentality of the people that I want to work around, who just figure it out and get it done. I don't know whose responsibility it is. I'm not keeping score. Wait a minute, it's your turn, my turn. Fuck all that. Just do the work. Joe Mullings does the work. His culture of people around him, I don't care what you call it, but somebody here, I think Dee said it, checked out, mailing it in.
Right.
I don't want to be around like people like that. When we sat down with Joe Mullings, he said, you're the kind of people I want to be in the bunker with.
Yep.
I don't want to be in the bunker with somebody who's asleep at the wheel, man.
So this is why I'm a firm believer that this quiet quitting concept is a leadership problem and not an individual problem, right? Like, to me, you didn't want to be around those kind of people, so you developed an organization that was the culture. You look at Joe Mullings' organization, that is the culture. He's got people that are willing to figure it out, that are willing to work together, that have trust in each other, that have respect for each other, that have really good teams. And so I'll go back to, if somebody is doing the bare minimum to get by and they're not being addressed for it, this is a leadership problem. This is somebody who's responsible for that person is not paying attention to them, is not observing them, is not investing in them. And so they're being allowed to fly underneath the radar, which ultimately hurts everybody else in the organization, because it creates a problem where there's not work that should be done, that's not being done, that somebody has to pick up the slack for. And I'll go back to football, right? We would turn on the film, and if somebody I was responsible for didn't do what they were supposed to do, the head coach didn't go to that person. Head coach looked at me and said, you're either coaching that or you're letting it happen. Which one is it? My responsibility. I wasn't the one who executed it on the field, but they were my responsibility. So I go back to leaders and say, if you have people that are quiet quitting in your organization, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Okay. So, Joe is so brilliant in the stuff that he does. And so all of our reaction to this stuff is like, I would never quit on myself. My name is on it from the day I started working. If my name's on it, I'm over delivering. I'm doing more than the job description. I'm just, and Sherry Cedar said, add value. She loves add value. That's the one mantra I said to everybody. I said, you never have to worry about your job here ever if you add value. If you're adding value. When we were talking about this is what was so amazing. You said from the Remember the Titans, there was people know when you're quitting, man, when you're dropping and you didn't get that block when you could have gotten that block. It's really the same thing organizations are made up of a lot of moving pieces. If one of those pieces is not functioning at its fullest, it messes up the whole rhythm. The engine doesn't drive if you have some of the pistons that don't go. So I didn't tolerate it. As a leader, I didn't tolerate it. I saw it. I recognized it. I went to people straight to their face and I said, what the fuck's the problem?
So there's the answer, is that if you're, and so like, there's a lot of people who will point to it's a Gen X problem, or it's the millennials.
Look at Jay, boom.
They say it's the millennials trying to, promote mediocrity. And that's not really what it's about, is that it's about a lack of leadership. And the world has changed. People change. And if we as leaders aren't able to adapt our communication styles and our ability to connect with people, to offer them the opportunity, because I'm going to go back to another coaching phrase. I always live the term, you either can't or you won't. Either way, you get replaced. But in order for me to sleep good at night, I got to know that I've done everything in my power to offer you the opportunity to do it, that I've invested in your development, that I've invested in figuring out why you're not able to do what I want you to do, so that I can say you either can't physically or talent or whatever, or you won't. It's a decision you're making. Either way, that doesn't get tolerated in our organization, in our place, and we move on from that. So I think it's a leadership problem, because number one, the behavior can't be tolerated, but then number two, you can't just go to firing people. You have got to try to figure out, what do I need to do in order to get this person to be successful?
So here's where my mind goes on all this stuff. And I love the fact that people are conversing with each other, which is fantastic. That's the point of all of this. You guys can have these conversations all day long, but I believe what happens at home comes to the office, and what happens in the office comes home. So if you're mailing it in which is, to me, is actually harder to do than actually do the job. I mean,
Correct.
If you focus your energy on doing the job, good things happen. But what do you do? What is that person? What happens to that person when they come home? If they've already drank the Kool-Aid of mediocrity, how do they treat their spouse or significant other? How do they treat their kids? What example are they making of themselves for, I'm okay with being okay? I was never that way. I just don't get it. I just,
So Jake hits it directly on the head. And I wrote this because Joe Mullings had posted about quiet quitting last week, and I commented on it. And I said, to me, if you have somebody who's quiet quitting in the role, they're only looking to do the bare minimum. They don't really care about what's happening around them. They're not trying to help others. They're not trying to be great within their role. There's a lack of alignment there. And most likely that alignment is the vision of who they want to be is not aligned with the work they're being asked to do. So, why in the world would I show up and give effort to a thing that I think is a waste of my time, or is not serving me in the way that I would like to move forward in my life? So this is where it comes down to leaders and organizations. You got to, number one, define the seats on the bus. And if those seats on the bus are rightly defined, then you got to put the right people in the seats. It's not my job to figure out whether or not this is the right seat for me. It's your job to say, this is the thing that's expected of you. And if that doesn't align with you, then you can't be in that seat, or you can't be on the bus at all. And if every organization, every leader operated that way, and they took responsibility for helping people find the roles that fit them, you'd have a lot more happier people and happier teams, and people willing to go above and beyond for the organization because they were aligned with it.
So Eric Wilner, who doesn't show up live a lot, great comment. It's exactly right. It's every single thing you do is how you choose to show up. So Mark, let's go back to football. You and I are both big Nick Saban fans. Nick Saban is quoted as saying, mediocre people don't like high performers, and high performers don't like mediocre people. Get used to it, okay? So which team are you signing up for? Because I think when you hang out with high achievers, they set the bar. Do you think Nick Saban would allow quiet quitting in his organization.
Well, so I want to be clear about this, because that doesn't mean that Nick Saban doesn't have contributors. Just because Nick Saban doesn't tolerate quiet quitting doesn't mean he doesn't have contributors. Not everybody in the organization is going to be the person that's willing to go above and beyond to do everything. Some guys are just going to be there and just going to do. But the difference is that the standard of the minimum required at the University of Alabama is so much higher than the standard that's required at the University of Tennessee. That's why everything that happens at the University of Alabama is that much better than what happens at the University of Tennessee. That's the clear difference. Is what's your minimum standard? What's the standard you're holding people accountable to? Because if that standard is higher than everybody else's, it doesn't matter who you have in the seats. You're going to get more out of them.
Love it. Look at Christopher Daigle. Wow. Thanks for sharing and being honest. After
I love that.
At one company, I found myself, I never meant to get there, but a mixture got me. And I found myself defeated, afraid, whatever. Sometimes you need to get coached through these moments. So, Mark, can you coach somebody through this, or is it a personal thing?
So here's my experience with being out of alignment with an organization and leadership is I got myself fired, essentially, because I would not conform to the mediocrity that was being expected around me. I constantly pushed everything and everybody to be higher out of my lane. I was trying to do as much as I could possibly do, which became a threat to the organization. And so that threat and that rub against leadership forced them to make a decision on me to say, hey, we can't have you around here anymore because you're not willing to conform. The difference was I would have never quit. So I would have driven myself and made myself miserable, slamming my head against the wall over and over to try to make change inside of a place. So can you coach people?
Wait. Yeah. On this. So I want to stay here. So when you called me, right, I said, you said that we talked a little bit and I said, you got fired.
Right. Yeah. You knew it.
Because that was such a poor leader. He allowed you to run amok within his shit.
Correct.
Right? It never happened to me. That's
right.
Poor leadership. When you allow people's behavior to dictate that stuff, it was a sign that the organization was bad. You're like, how did you know? How did I know? You should have been the head coach.
It's obvious.
Coach, I was there. I went to the meetings. I was like, you stood up in front of the team and they were like, we want to follow you. And then this numbnut got up and just did it, and nobody believed him. He was so not believable. So this is an indictment on bad leadership is what quiet quitting is. Although I think it's personal. You gotta, if you can't be there, you got to make a change yourself.
You have to be willing to. Even
if you don't, like you pushed yourself into a place where they had no recourse. They had to get rid of you, which was okay. Sometimes you got, God will help you do something that you can't do yourself, but you weren't going to stay there. There's no way.
I couldn't
go through another season. It was crazy. So don't be so disruptive that they have to get rid of you, but quiet quitting to bury your head.
That was the difference. And so to me, if I'm coaching somebody through quiet quitting, the coaching is challenging them to have the conversations with their leaders, pushing them to say, hey, I need more from you. I need better around me. I need better from you. I need to be fulfilled here because I want to do more, but I'm losing my drive. I'm losing my incentive to do that.
So, Jake's on fire this morning. What is up with him?
Yeah,
I agree. If your head is so far up your ass that you can't tell that people are fading or mailing it in, look, you get what you deserve.
I'm so proud to see Jake putting all of these comments in here because this is what we coach people on all the time. So he's being able to take his perspective of what we've seen and what we've done for people and apply it right now to this term, quiet quitting. It's great stuff. Absolutely.
So, this is awesome stuff. Jay, I get paid every time someone uses the word number. You know what? That's as a guy that has run my own businesses, you as a great entrepreneur, you know when someone's mailing it in, put them out of their misery and say, hey, listen, I'm going to do you a favor. Get the hell out of here and go do something that you love.
Absolutely great conversation. Great way to start the week. Let's go.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.